like toilet paper is our go-to.
I love getting my hair cut, especially when there's a scalp massage involved.
But she would say, your body is a temple and you need to take care of it.
We have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, where he just ate garbage. How long was that? A year?
Do this. I can't do this without Cassie and the kids enabling me to do this.
I find myself encouraging myself, so I'm like, no, you can do this. Don't give
up. We got lots to say.
I love my husband so much and my son. I had a baby. Her name is Isla.
I want to see the baby. I've definitely had multiple drinks on multiple episodes.
Loosen up.
It's a podcast. We're here to have fun, so enjoy yourself.
We'll still continue recording in real time. And so we let people know, like, just pretend I'm still here. And then we'll catch up if like the message or my combo has been lost somewhere along the way. Hello everyone. We are We Made It podcast. We are back here today with a lovely guest, Sarah. Who we will get to talking a little bit more with. But hello, Sarah.
Hi, guys.
And off the top, we're just going to mention a couple things. We still have our giveaway going on. So we're giving away 2 lovely books, one from a previous guest and frequent listener. The book is called Eternus. It's by Leroy Hakiki, and A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And we're giving these away as part of our 100th episode giveaway. So yeah, look into Instagram to jump in on that contest. Yeah, we've had a bunch of entrants in the last week, so I'm like super jazzed. Yeah, and so we want to jump right in and talk with Sarah. She was just before we got on, starting to tell us all about where she's been and where she's going, and so we're so excited to continue that here and share that all with you guys. So yeah, Sarah, where to start? You have done so much. Business owner, parent, like all these wonderful titles, world traveler, very educated. Yeah, where does this all begin?
So I originally, so my husband's military, and we were posted to Petawawa. We were supposed to come back. So this was probably back, around 2018, we were supposed to be coming back, or 2019, to the Petawawa area. And we ended up getting told that we were going to England, and it was a little bug was kind of put in my ear at the time that I wanted to get into like the world of medical aesthetics. But then I found out we were going to England. So I was like, kibosh, I guess I'm not starting my business venture because we're going to be on the other side of the world. So I came back, and I feel like it's a very intimidating industry in the sense that, like, I didn't know how I was going to fit in because I guess I don't watch a lot of, the Real Housewives, or I don't watch, those types of shows. I'm more of like a nerd at heart. So
trying and your background is nursing, correct?
Yeah. So okay. I'm a registered nurse. When we got back from the UK, I started back at the little hospital that I started my career off kind of in, and was working in their emergency department and on their unit, medicine unit, casually. And then I ended up sliding into a job where I was basically it was like a clinical kind of like instructor, but also the middleman between management and the frontline staff. Mm-hmm. And honestly, after the pandemic, like, healthcare just kind of imploded, and
a lot of people left, I think. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. So so many people were leaving, so many people were burnt out, and I was becoming like one of those people where I was waking up, going to my job every day, and just like it wasn't what it used to be. And I made the decision finally, like, when I was waking up and not happy to go into work. And I could see that it was affecting me. It was affecting, my family life. It was affecting my relationship with my husband. It was affecting, my kids. Like my mental health was just like so poor, and I wasn't getting treated very well at the nursing home that I was at. And I was working Monday to Friday, like 9, sometimes till 11:30 at night, because so many staff were calling in, and I'd end up having to go work on the floor. And it was just a very, very, very toxic work environment, to the point that I ended up actually getting COVID, and I had to be off, and there's certain protocols that get put in place, public health guidelines.
Yes.
And I wasn't supposed to go back into work, and my employer was trying to make me go back into work with a positive test. And yeah, and
you're like, I can't consciously do this.
I'm like, we're working with the most vulnerable people. Like, how many deaths were there in, long-term care over the course of the pandemic? So I basically put my foot down and told her that I wasn't coming in. I sent her public health guidelines. We were back and forth, kind of like, she was basically like, the home could have been reported, essentially,
right?
Based off of like her actions. And I said to my husband, I was just like, you know what? I think I want to finally go into medical aesthetics. I signed up for the course. It was in January, and I knew that they weren't going to give me the Friday off. I knew that when I got back into work after, the period of time, it's like the 10 days I had to wait, that they were not going to allow me to go do the course. I would have to be at work. So I said to Andrea, I was like, I think I'm just going to quit. I was so scared because I didn't have no job lined up.
Yeah.
I had absolutely nothing. And he was just like, go for it. We'll be okay. If he didn't.
That is like, sorry, I liken this to a moment where like Jim and Pam in The Office, like classic example of like unwavering support of your spouse. Like, just, that's beautiful. You watch it, you're just like, yes, they're doing the right thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, and honestly, he's been like one of my biggest support systems, like through everything. He probably knows just as much as like I do. Even medical aesthetics is like a specialty. So I think a lot of people, kind of look at it as they put us in the same group as like hairdressers or people who go get their nails done, or
lashes.
Waxing.
My lash lady had in her physical like space also had somebody come in and do like filler and stuff like that. This was a couple of years ago, but they kind of, it falls into an aesthetic sort of
it's like
career.
The beauty industry, right? But in the same sense, like realistically, like these are like medical procedures that we're doing on our own. So I took, and it's only a weekend course, and I just like did not feel prepared after this weekend course. I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna start
stabbing people.
Yes, like there is absolutely
no way. But people do.
Yes, people do, and
it's
actually scary.
It's a little under.
Sometimes I just like, I really question, people get out of school or they go to school and they're like, I'm just gonna, after I become a nurse, I'm just gonna start doing Botox, like that. And I think people don't realize like that like my course alone, just to do the course was like $5,500.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that was a 2-day
That's an
course.
investment. Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. And then like all your startup costs. So your right down from like your syringes to, your gauze pads to like, you need everything.
You
like
need
a little
a
fridge.
Space. Like, I'm imagining you need some sort of a physical space. You could do it out of your house. Is that
so people do it out of their homes. I personally didn't want that, only because I don't, if something ever happens, to say if like and I've had like very, very unhinged moments with some clients
Okay.
where I would not want them to know where I live.
Okay.
So
Fair.
Oh man, that's so true.
you know, like I don't want it if you know if you're not happy with your treatment or your result or you know something because it's a medical procedure, there's risks.
Yes.
I don't want you banging on my door
Yes.
and knowing where my kids live,
knowing who your kids are. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Totally.
So I try to
Okay.
keep it separate,
Yes.
but you know I should also share my personal life with my clients over social media too because it's a good opportunity for them to get to know like who I am as a person.
Builds trust.
Yeah, like I want when you sit down in my chair, I want you to feel like we already know each other.
Mhm.
But yeah, so after the 2-day course, I was like, no, I need to take more courses. So then it was like I spent another probably about like $6,000 and just, you know, went head first into trying to get more focused on how I was gonna and no one tells you the business side of it.
Yeah.
There's not a course. There's no course that says like you have to do this and this and this. So
like
trying
the
to
true
figure
definition of entrepreneur.
Are we like? Is this in reference more to like how to get maybe registered, like how to
yeah,
be
like
legally operating as a business? Okay. Okay.
yeah. So the whole business side of it, like I could do all the nursing stuff,
Yeah.
but the whole business side of it, like I had no
Different.
idea where to start.
Yeah.
And thank God, my sister, she actually went to school for business administration. So I spent lots of nights with her
Thank you.
helping me set everything up,
Yes.
and get started on that. And then Andre, my husband's really great with numbers. So he is like, he's not my accountant, but he helps
Next best
like
thing.
me. Yes, like,
Yeah.
he's the next best thing. He helps me prepare everything like every month to send off to an accountant that I have now who does
Mhm.
everything.
Amazing.
But honestly, like like numbers and stuff, I'm just like I'm not good with that kind of stuff. But I also don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking
Yeah.
hate
don't wanna-
numbers.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I never want to get in trouble. So I started injecting in a hair salon. And
Mhm.
I was actually injecting in a hair salon up here part time. And then was also driving to Kingston.
Yeah.
And I had a part-time space in Kingston. So trying to build up my client base in both areas. I went to school in Kingston.
Okay. I was going to say, like, is this something you kind of like already had a connection there and then it was just a matter of kind of booking your spots? I know like this isn't the same lane, but like tattoo artists sometimes do this where they'll do like a guest spot in a studio and that kind of,
Yeah. So
okay.
it started off where I was only like booking, you know, one day at a time. And as I got busier down in Kingston, I went part-time down there. But I mean, even rent was crazy. It's like $1,100 for a part-time space in Kingston. Plus I was paying rent up here. And
plus
then
travel
not only, plus the travel and the wear and tear on the car. Now I only go once a month.
Okay.
It just makes more sense, especially for like, I was missing out too much with like my kids and, and it's nice that this job helps me, like what I'm doing right now gives me so much freedom, but it also, like, I feel like I was just go for the first 2 years where I was kind of losing sight of, you know, family life.
Your
it's a tough
focus.
balance.
Yeah, I was going to say like your focus has to be on building the business for a time, but then the mom side of you obviously is like, but how do I also add this in? And probably like, did you feel that it was overwhelming?
It was like a tug. It was for sure like a tug. And I really felt it the most because, my oldest, she's 7 now, Toby, she's always been a mama's girl and, ended up becoming a daddy's girl.
Oh no.
Because I was gone.
Fuck you, Andre.
So bad. I was so mad.
Oh man.
And so even with like when I was first, you know, kind of building, I was in the hair salon and going to Kingston, and it was just like pretty wild. Then I started working casually because I feel like I can't say no, like a yes person. I started working as a sexual health nurse down on the reserve that I grew up on. I'm Indigenous, and it was very fulfilling. But again, like a little bit of a toxic work environment, working for chief and council. So
Oh god.
like it was just, it was so messy. And what ended up happening was the same thing. Like they were wanting me to go down all the time. I was driving down like every Thursday. I ended up quitting like I was still working casually a little bit at the hospital, like quit that job stage. So now I'm doing like 5,000 different things. And I knew something I had to give. So I quit actually, and I'm just doing medical aesthetics full time since June of last year.
Good for you. That's awesome.
It's a huge accomplishment. But in all of those like first 2 years, like a little me, right? Like I have imposter syndrome really
we all
bad.
do.
I think
everyone does.
I think it's like you're registered to do this, right? And yet there's part of you that's like, how is this even possible? Like, I don't know what that is in our brains that lets us believe that we aren't built and made for anything that we accomplish.
It's one thing. It is everyone else's voices.
Oh my god!
I think
what it is. Yeah,
everyone has imposter syndrome, and I've been reading a lot into this like weird space about just sort of understanding our position here on Earth, I guess.
Yes.
And it's weird, but more and more I'm coming to realize that, sorry if I'm yelling.
No, this is good volume. Yeah.
Anything, your thoughts dictate everything. Every single aspect of your life is coming from your thoughts. And most of the negative thoughts aren't you at all. And that's when, in our earlier episodes, we said a lot like, you aren't your story.
Yeah.
You aren't your past. And it's because we bring these things forward with us for some unknown reason, and we let them inform all the decisions we make. Man, I worked with Andre for quite a while. I was the OPSO for a year at our regiment, and it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big job.
Yeah.
And I felt like an imposter the whole year. If I could go back, oh my God, what a difference it would make. But the bottom line is no one should feel like an imposter, because why do you feel like an imposter? You're looking out there, you're seeing the landscape of medical aesthetics, and you're looking at all the other people in the space, and you're thinking, I'm not as good as them. I don't have as much business as them. I'm just starting. What right do I have to have any opinions on this kind of shit? And honestly,
exactly.
All of that is garbage. No one asked you to think those things. None of them said any of that kind of stuff.
Nobody's saying that. Oh my God, never. Like, none of us say these bad things to each other. Where does this come from?
It's our subconscious talking to us, because like we talked about this with Sean. This space is really important to me right now. I've been in therapy for over a year now, and it's really been helpful. And it's like all of these thoughts that you have are other people's voices from when you were growing up. All the people that told you
heard maybe one time somebody was like some like grumpy adult you crossed wrongly, randomly in this one place that you like maybe shouldn't, who knows, right? And it's just like one person who was like, you suck, and and suddenly you're like, I suck. What? Think
of every when you're growing up and you have an idea of what you want to be and what you want to do, and how many times people are like, I remember this one instance, and I'm not slagging my parents. I read a book about finances and dividend reinvestment, and it's basically
reinvestment. My brain just shut off. Sorry.
So when you own stocks, you get paid out dividends. Okay. So it's basically after all the revenue,
royalties,
essentially.
Yeah.
And instead of getting that check paid out to you monthly, they just reinvest that, so you buy more stocks slowly, and eventually it grows. And I was like, you know what? By the time I'm 33, I could have $1 million. And I talked to too many of the wrong people, and it was just like, oh, that's not possible. Every time I talked about leaving the army, for the last 10, 12 fucking years, which has been like the majority of my career.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a big chunk of time.
No one ever tries to understand why you want to leave, where you're at, and what you want to do next. They just try, hey, you've got a job, you've got money, you've got paid vacation. Why would you want to get rid of that stuff? And you're like, I don't think, like, we don't get any fucking support from anyone. So that's why we all have imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So literally.
Every time you look in the mirror, you should say, just look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm so proud of everything you've done.
Genuinely, yeah.
We don't talk nicely to ourselves. No one else is going to talk nicely to us.
No, honestly, and I actually I just did this a couple of weeks ago. So I went on Pinterest because you can now make like collages. And so rather than having like a vision board that I have printed out, I actually made a kind of like a vision board, and it's my home screen on my phone.
Nice.
So
smart.
Yeah, so I see it all the time, but just like trying to say more kind things, like to myself, because it is like, especially in this industry, like it's very cutthroat, and sometimes you feel like you're trying to claw your way to sit at tables.
Okay.
And really, like, those are probably not your people.
Like why the fuck do you want to spend time with them?
Exactly. So I think Kingston initially I felt very supported, and it was going really well. I actually had to be in aesthetics, you need to have a medical director. Yes. So I cannot practice and do what I do without having a medical director in the background, basically who like oversees what I do and signs off.
Yes.
It's just like when you work in the hospital. Like if I'm in a merge,
nursing is the same, right? Like you do your work, and then somebody else kind of higher up is like, yeah, approved, more or less.
Yeah, and not even like, I don't even want to make it seem like it's like higher up, like it's higher up because we're colleagues.
Yes. Okay.
Right? Like we're colleagues. They're not my boss.
There's
and
not
it's the
like
same
a hierarchy.
Okay. Yeah. So it's the same with medical direction.
Yes.
They are under like their controlled acts and what they can do. They can provide those medical directing to nurses.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a partnership, but you hire a medical director. So initially I had, I jived really well with this lady that I was introduced to by my trainer. And, over the years, I think like the money maybe got to her head, or I'm not really sure like what happened, but there
Something
was a kind
changed.
of this disconnect. Yeah. Where I really loved her as a person, but she was changing in the business and wasn't like meeting up to her expectations of the contract. So I ended up having to like get out of the contract early. I fired her and I hired a new medical director.
Okay.
But even that comes with a cost. So I was paying, I'm paying close to like $2,000 a month just for my medical director alone.
Okay.
But
is this somebody, is your medical director somebody that can oversee you in Kingston and Petawawa, or is this like you need two based on location?
So basically no. So it's just one medical director.
Okay.
And they essentially have access to your patient charts and first interactions, first consultations before I'm poking needles in anyone's face. Okay. Like they're having a virtual consult with the client and myself.
Yes.
Where I'm going over, the game plan of what we're going to do, and whether they want to, put in their, advice is like another thing. I personally really like that my medical director does that, but she seemed very unattainable. She's kind of like very well known, and she was my trainer when I first started. And she never had the capacity to take anyone on. So I kind of got in this like really shitty situation last fall, and she agreed to take me on. So here I am, like delved into this world of all these like really, really inspiring men and women in the industry, and it's a completely different ballgame. People are more supportive than I felt like I was competing with my previous medical director, and it was just a strange thing that happened.
To me, that becomes over time toxic.
Yeah,
inevitably. Yeah,
super distracting at a minimum.
Yeah,
and she basically what like kind of ended the relationship was she was not providing me like training that I had been asking for quite some time, and then was a little bit upset when I sought the training elsewhere, not based off of like the training itself, but who the training was with. So because they didn't like each other, which whatever. I don't try to get involved in any of that stuff.
So silly.
It's not like I don't care who you like or don't like. Like it's none of my business. I've never really been that type of person to begin with, and honestly, like I either like you or I don't, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. Like I'll be nice and I'll say hi, but I find the industry is like it's really catty. It's a bunch of women, mostly women, working with one another. So trying to like navigate that as well. And I think just like being like this little res kid that like grew up not thinking that like I was ever gonna own my own clinic or it just like if I can't like I can't even put into words like how I like feel about even that. Like it just seems wild to me. When I was in the hair salon, I knew I had to get out, and I was about to pop with my second baby.
Okay.
And
physically, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a space that came up. It looked like absolute shit. It used to be a dog grooming space. It was horrendous in there, but it was a space and it was going to be my own. So I went over. The price was like decent, but I was going to have to put in Petawawa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm actually like near, I'm in the plaza where Moan's Vet is. I'm at
plaza.
The end.
Where's the? Why can't I picture the plaza?
So there's Moan's Vet, and then there's the Beyond the Mat yoga studio, and I'm at the very end unit.
This is not where the bowling alley used to be, like.
Yeah, so they're at the very end. There's like that huge plaza, but there's on Moan's, like on the actual like road. There's like a little set in plaza.
Nice. That's awesome. Oh
yeah. I honestly like. You build it, they will come. I feel like is one of these things like that's a tried and true thing. Like I'm assuming now you have a client base and they're coming for you for your services. From the time you got that space, so you were about to have your second baby, yes?
Yeah.
So what did that look like? Like you had a baby and then you were doing stuff right away. Like, did you take any time off? What happened?
Oh my God.
No. So I went over. Actually, I didn't know that the family that owns the building actually is from outside of the Ottawa area, and so he had called me to meet up, and my water broke. So
yay.
Perfect.
So So I was like, I started having contractions. So I messaged him back. I'm like, really sorry, I'm having contractions. And then they stopped. So that week they kind of like filtered out, and I wanted to have a home birth. As a nurse, even saying that like sounds crazy because I'm like, I always wanted to have my babies in the hospital because I just felt like it was safer for some reason. But realistically, like, especially with this time around, with a midwife, I wish more people would go with midwives because they're honestly phenomenal. That's side note.
They're so overbooked, so I'm always like hesitant. I'm like, if you can get one, but if you can't, then don't. But like, you could go with an OB, but like you'll get, I don't know, it feels like 5-star service with a midwife.
It does. It's honestly, it's amazing. So
did you have a home birth?
So I did have a home birth. So I went over. It was like at the end of the week, contractions were like fine. I went and signed the papers, like the lease with the building owners, and then the following week I had my baby on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
And
congratulations!
What a home birth! I wouldn't put my purse down there.
It happened so quick. Like I wouldn't have even had time to make it to the hospital, but it was a wild experience. Andre was like, I can still see it. He's trying to fill up this like because I had a birthing pool.
Yeah.
I was trying to fill up this pool that we didn't even have set up. He had like this much water in it. He's trying to hang curtains because we didn't want our neighbors looking in the window.
And like watching, And then the baby was born.
And then the baby was born.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
So, I took probably about 2 weeks. 2 weeks where I kind of just, stayed home and went back. I'm still working my sexual health job, so but I also was working on this heart health program. So I was doing virtual education sessions for community members on my reserve every Wednesday at 8. So I'm still doing all of these things with like breastfeeding my baby and like talking to people and after that, then Andre and I immediately went over and we started working on the clinic, and it took us he gave me 2 months essentially, very kind of him, but not really.
Kind of like
he makes a lot of money off me anyways, the owner. Okay. So gave me 2 months to essentially like get the clinic ready without having to pay any rent.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was honestly, so 2 months we were over there. I found this handyman he just kind of like fell in my lap and who could do framing. He started the framing and I was like, do you do drywall? He's like, no, but I can try. I was like, cool, I don't care. Like, just do what you can. Like, I'll pay you like whatever. So he started drywalling. My parents came up and my dad and his buddy put down the floor.
Yeah.
I was over there with like a flashlight, like putting silicone everywhere. It was wild. I think Andre and I almost got a divorce when we did the floor in the bathroom over there. Like, oh my God. We were like
testing all of the things. Yeah.
It was wild. I was like, how we've never had, like, we don't really get into massive fights, but like, I thought we were going to kill each other, like trying to, like, it was like this peel and stick floor just in the meantime. And like, we were grouting it and it was 10 out of 10, don't recommend anyone to do peel and stick floor. Like it's dreadful.
Yes.
But we got it all ready. And then I had my grand opening kind of later on in, I think it was September or October. Okay. October, I did my grand opening and like the ribbon cutting. So I've been in the space now for over a year, but we were over there and I had like Gigi, my little one, in like a carrier while we were like trying to do all of this stuff. Yeah. Another thing, Andre took a paternity leave so I could like focus on my business, which
that is so supportive. Yeah. Amazing.
No, he is honestly like, he's the bee's knees. So I cannot like, I can't like thank him enough for like being here, but also it's like I'm kind of like I'm a little bit jealous, like a little bit mad. It's kind of I'm like upset with myself that I missed that part, but then have to remind myself like you had that time with your first baby, like he had the time with the second, and honestly, it's made him a better, I think, like dad and a better partner.
I did the same thing.
Like really deep dive into it.
I had like 2 weeks with William, and I took 3 months with Olivia, and it's a big difference. Yeah. And also the second kid too, like as a dad, you're like, I don't know where I should be right now. I don't know what I should do. The second one comes along and you're like, oh, I'll be back from the gym in a bit. I'll see you. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah. No, he honestly, like both of the girls love him to bits. And Gigi's she's pretty wild in comparison. Toby's like our angel baby.
Feral second child. That's what they
That's a thing. Yeah. That's a real thing. Yeah. My daughter's a fucking bitch. Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I love Olivia so much that she is. Yeah.
She's fucking crazy.
It would be hard to live with. Yeah.
I'm like, you're literally like, she's just like a little fucking asshole all the time. She's just like doing the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I'm second child, and I said to my mom, I'm like, was I like this when I was little? And she was like, no. She was like, you're a good kid. So.
But do you have a younger sibling too?
No, I don't. But my sister, she was the wild one. Like she was the one that snuck out of the windows that night and ran away. And so I think there was also always this pressure, like and again, like I'm not slagging my parents off or anything, but there was always this pressure I found. Like my sister, like growing up, she had her kids. She had a teen pregnancy. I grew up fast because I ended up like raising like my nephew in grade 6.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she's been through a lot. She's so resilient, and she's like a successful business owner as well, like now today.
Yeah.
They own their own construction company, and
Amazing.
her and her partner build homes. So, but she was always that kind of like that kid who just like never listens, never. She's just so intelligent.
She's
but
just like a pure rebel.
Crazy. Yeah, she's like a rebel. So growing up, there was like this pressure for me always to be like, don't be like your sister. You have to do this. You have to. Like, if I came home and I had like a B on my report card, my dad would lose his shit. So like,
he's like, you're the good one.
Yeah, and honestly, for a while we butt heads. Like I never really got along with my dad, like for the longest time, because he always like was just like expecting not just like the bare minimum, but like more. And I couldn't give any more. So I think like going back to what you were saying, you're talking about like imposter syndrome and like those little things and not ever feeling like good enough. Or I honestly think like I'm in therapy too. And like,
I don't want to say we all are, but I think millennials as a whole, we're very good at like seeking help. Yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly think like a lot of that is just like those little voices in my head of like trying to like to be a perfectionist and, you know, always give things my all, and then really letting my
expectations.
Yeah. And then I end up letting myself down if I'm like not performing to like the ability that I think I should, but also like I need to take a step back and realize like I live this crazy life now. Like I'm going to Paris and going to like conferences and like interacting with like these world renowned like surgeons and like aesthetic providers and like speaking with them, and I never pictured if you went back 7 years and you said to me that this was going to be my life, I would never have believed you.
Wow.
So I want to say something. You mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to give mad props to Andre. You said he's so supportive. I worked with Andre directly. We were hand in hand for a whole year. And he was the difference maker in my life that year.
Oh, wow.
If he wasn't there, I would have fucking imploded. Do you know what I mean? He is everything that I am not. You know what I mean? Like he everything
he was your so good wife for that time.
Oh yeah, we spent so much time together, and honestly, like I've only seen him truly mad I think once or twice.
Ooh.
And this because he doesn't really change outwardly a whole lot. He just like turns to stone a bit, and he's already a quiet person, and then just conversation with him when he's pissed, it's like oh boy. Big fucking Andre, you're one of a kind. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful that you have him to help you with all this shit. You know, it ties into the imposter syndrome thing you're talking about. I never would have imagined myself talking to these people, whatever. Man, what separates you from them? Nothing.
Honestly, nothing.
Just people.
No.
They're all people too. Yeah.
Christopher Walken said it perfectly. I'm just like you. I put my pants on one leg at a time. And it doesn't matter if you make platinum records after the fact, but we're all just trying our best, and people get to where they're at, but it doesn't make them better than us. It doesn't make them less than us. We're all just, you know what I mean? I wish people could, I think more people would probably pursue the things they're interested in more if they didn't have to chase this idea of feeling worthy to do it,
maybe.
to have permission to do something.
Permission. Oh my gosh, that's a big one. Yeah.
And to that end, like we don't challenge our thoughts. We just think at all. We get so consumed by the day to day. And we don't just take a step back and go, you know, you have the thoughts and then you get the moods and you have the feelings and you're like, man, I'm letting whatever it is, just direct my life instead of taking a step back and going, man, I wonder why I'm thinking this way. Is it true? Is it
right?
Is it helpful? Is it positive? And we think, I know, this is coming from a point of view where I feel like you, Sarah, like you, Jenna, I'm sure, like most of us in our generation, you feel like you have to earn your right to be able to do something.
Yeah.
Instead of just take the space that's yours, because there's no permission to be had. There's no rubber stamp. It really truly is whatever the fuck you want. Go get it. It's yours.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need permission. And if we challenge our thoughts a bit more, we'd see that more clearly, I think.
Honestly, I think like even in like I kind of like I struggle with this for like on social media because it's a huge part of
it's a machine of business.
What I do.
Yeah.
Yes. And so for the longest time I was like caught in this like weird thing because I have always been on social media. Mm-hmm. And so when like obviously when TikTok came out, and like my TikTok is personal. Like it's nothing to do with my business. It's nothing. It was just like for fun. But I like posted a lot of funny stuff. And then when I got into business, it was like I forgot. I was trying to be like this professional person who's like just posting about, you know, like facts serious. And like try to be serious. And I was trying to be like other people in the industry rather than just like being myself.
What you thought they wanted to see.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. And then when I finally just said, you know what, like I was talking to another colleague actually in the industry. She's from out east, and we were just chatting, and she was like, post the funny stuff, like just do it. She's like, who cares? She's like, no one's going to care. Just be yourself and start posting. And honestly, that's when my business started taking off.
Okay.
So
allowing yourself to be authentic.
Yes. Like the more authentic I was and the more people actually got to know me as a person.
Yes.
My bookings, like even like I was looking at my schedule this week and like I'm completely booked.
Yes.
All week. And
sorry, folks, people... next week for Sarah.
Yeah. The more people come in and they're like, I saw your reel and you made me laugh really hard and that's why I'm here. But also I feel like I'm type A in my business too. So
okay. But that is such a valuable piece of advice I think you just shared is like authenticity, I think speaks to people. Clearly it speaks to your clientele. And I think like just from the sounds of like where your business has transitioned overall, like your connections with people speak authentically too, because you were saying like you've moved into this place where you're medical director, for example, and you jive way better, and it probably seems like a more natural or organic connection. And so to me it just sounds like you're seeking those things and you're speaking those things in the world, like in your social media as well, and your presence. And so that's what you're going to get back, right? Like you're getting that same feedback loop that you're putting out. I think that's so important.
So I gotta cut in and add to this.
Yes.
Synchronicity.
Okay.
Big thing I'm exploring.
Yes.
I want the
we talked about this with Sean. There was like that huge web.
Yeah, Indra's web kind of
where
thing.
Like everything, the interconnection. Yeah, synchronicity is part of that. Yeah.
One example, I want the podcast to be. I want us to be doing what you're doing with our podcast. I want it to be our full-time job. I want it to succeed. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. I was like I mentioned before the show, messing around with the lighting and the camera, trying to figure out how to get a better image, whatever, just to put out some good crisp content. Yeah. Through the worst Donald Trump impression. But I decided to pull the trigger on a new camera last night at 11, drinking a whiskey, watching Rogue Heroes on Prime.
Did you make a drunk camera purchase on the internet last night?
It was like
questionably
loose,
sober,
but not drunk. The fucking camera showed up this morning.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a fucking
What?
like grade A weapons class blizzard coming through. I have no idea how this happened. But also, I started reading this book. I'm sure we've all heard of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
It's a classic. Yeah.
So there's a book that like sort of begat that one by him. It's called the 16 Laws of Success or something like that. It's 11 fucking 100 pages.
1,100 pages.
But one of the things that he's talking about very early on in the book is your personality and positive thinking and all this kind of stuff. And he talks about people. A lot of this book is case studied through people like Dale Carnegie, I want to say Rockefeller, Thomas Edison, like all these like turn of the 1900th century type people who are successful in the business world. So a lot of sales type stuff. He's talking about selling insurance. He goes, 99 people out of every 100 who purchase life insurance policies do not know what is in their policies, and what seems more startling, do not seem to care. What they really purchase is the pleasing personality of some man or woman who knows the value of cultivating such a personality. Your business in life, or at least the most important part of it, is to achieve blah, 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 blah. You just said it.
Yeah.
Like being who you are, being authentic, and now your business is growing.
Exploding, yeah.
Because instead of trying to figure out and reverse...
What are other people doing?
Yeah, this algorithm, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
And I think about this with our show all the time.
Okay.
I'm like, are we having the right conversations with the right kind of people? Are we interacting with them the right way? And I'm like, no, stop. We're going to do
Why are we analyzing this? Yeah.
And the people who want to see our content are going to come see our content. Yeah. And that's how we're going to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. Like it is really, it's really hard to like, because for a while there, like, I feel like I was questioning myself, my worth, my, like, is like, even my, like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
did I do all the right things? Yeah.
Like, did I just like quit a job, give up a pension, give up all of these things that like is going to affect my future? And like, am I going to fail? Like, do people even like me? Which is great. Like, it's crazy how much pressure you put on yourself to like try to be these people that you're like genuinely not, just to try to make an impression, to get your name out there.
Yeah.
And once you just like put everything on the back burner, it was kind of like a fuck it moment for me, where I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm just like done pretending to be this person that I'm not. And once I did that, it was just, it's so much better. I love being funny. I love laughing. And most of the time I find like clients and people who want to interact with you, that's what they enjoy. I've never met a person who says that they don't like to laugh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Joy is universal. I think what you just described just made me think of like, you freed yourself of the kind of like, we'll say like maybe not just the things that were maybe holding you back, but just like the expectations maybe you placed on yourself or you felt like other people had on you. It sounds like you kind of just like said no thanks to those things anymore.
And as a yes person.
There you go.
Oh,
you
that's
said
so
yes
true.
to yourself.
You know what I love too? What that means is, you saying no means you're setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And the really interesting thing about that is the people who are going to be upset when you set boundaries are the people who benefit from you not having boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah.
And those aren't the people
like
you
when
want
you
in your
quit that
life.
job where you were being pressured to go in while you had COVID is an exact example of that. That person didn't respect your boundaries. They didn't respect their own boundaries by the sounds of it. Like they had like almost like a law placed upon them that was like, you can't have a worker that is infected with this disease
coming
potentially
into work.
Infect other people who are high risk, and they were willing to say, never mind, for the convenience.
Those people are fucking assholes because it makes more work for them. Yeah,
honestly,
in my opinion, bad management. But like, we all have had bad managers, and we're like, how did they end up here? Who
Yeah,
knows?
and
But yeah,
I am also like, I like to look at myself as like a really kind person, but also like a little bit of pettiness, like sometimes makes you feel good. And like
yes,
sometimes I
it's
just
like I don't know. I don't want to say it's revenge, but it's like some light
yeah.
form of that where you're like vindicated. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like, yes, I wasn't wrong. God, yeah. Sorry,
So
go
that
on.
so that manager actually, because she made me feel like I was just like this small. And
Yeah.
we graduated, a year apart from one another.
Okay.
So to like have someone who's the same age as you,
Yeah,
just
fuck
like
you.
yeah, like just to be like such an asshole. And like also she had only ever worked in long-term care. And that was kind of it, like the gist of her um like her nursing career. And like I've
Yeah.
worked in so many different like parts of nursing, like
Yes.
from hospital to emerge to like community. I was like working at the Ronald McDonald House and like helping kids in Toronto. Like
Oh my gosh.
so my background is like very extensive, and to have someone standing in front of you who like just has like no,
Narrow-minded.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
just want to slap a bitch, you know?
yes,
Like, fuck you. Who are you? God damn.
oh my
Fuck.
God. So I literally like this was probably because she blocked me on like we were friends on Facebook, and then she
Perfect.
blocked me obviously after I quit.
Good.
Oh
And
boy.
because I put in my 2 weeks. I didn't even put in my 2 weeks. I basically said, because I was still on my leave for like my COVID, and I just sent
Yeah.
them an email. And there was like also some racist things that came up, like in regards to Indigenous people that I had brought up to her and to the director that were never addressed. So in my like email when I left, I said, I'm not giving you 2 weeks. Like I quit today and I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
Because
2 weeks
X,
is
Y,
such a
and
joke,
Z.
too. Like,
It's like you wouldn't give me 2 weeks. You'd be like, I'm
you'd
gonna
fire me
you.
now.
You'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I was like, no, you know what? I'm done. And then so she blocked me on everything, but I can still see her from like my business Facebook.
Okay.
So and
Haha.
yeah, so just wondering because we were at Toby's school had like a school event last summer, and Andre and I were there, and he was like, "Oh, I know him," or whatever. It was her husband.
Okay.
And
So their
I was
kids
like,
go to the school.
so our kids go to school, to school together, but I didn't know,
Small
like,
town life. Oh my
yeah.
God. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
show up and I see her, and I was like, well, like she basically she looked. I don't know if it's like the job, like what she was doing. She had quit since that
Okay.
time. So
Okay.
she quit. So obviously it wasn't like a good, it
Fit
wasn't a
for
good
her.
workplace for her either.
Yeah.
But she quit her job, and now she makes custom T-shirts. So
Nothing wrong with that.
That's a
We're not
pivot.
shaming.
That's a
That's-
hard
That's
pivot. Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit is hard to cultivate.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So happy for her.
Honestly, that speaks volumes though, because like if she wanted to do something creative like that and like get in, not fashion, like it's not that, but like it's not nursing, so it's like to me that says she was miserable, she wasn't doing what she felt fulfilled her. Maybe this does do that better, like
it does do it better, but like
get out of here. Yeah,
treat people like that. My parents always like said this to me when I was little. I'm sure your parents said too. Like treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yes.
And like my mom was the type
Some
of mom
people didn't get those messages though.
No, they didn't. And like my mom was the type of mom that if I came home and I had said something because a kid was being, a dick to me, or, not nice, or making fun of me because I had a gap tooth and my red hair and I was the only white Indigenous kid at the school of like all these brown children. So if I went home, my mom would be like, you don't know what's going on at home with them.
Yeah, hurt people.
Right?
It's so true.
So, to Petty as like, I hope whatever she's doing now that she's doing great, but I wish Like I don't
It
ever
probably
wish
felt
any.
good though in that moment
It
to
felt
be
good
like
to see her.
Two things
Feeling
can be
on-
true, right?
yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have no right to treat people this way, and
Yes.
I'm glad you've learned a lesson.
yes.
Yeah.
And I hope
That's
you
what it
find
is.
what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you can have those two thoughts, and they can be very true. I want to share two quotes that I think really apply to what you're saying, Sarah. One is from the book Dune, which I'm sure we've all heard of. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't seen the
you've
movie,
mentioned it. Yeah.
watch the fucking movie.
Okay.
So
okay.
good. But this one is I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. I hope Sarah didn't just quit. Uh-oh. Did you
No,
did you hear anything?
I did.
Okay, good. So yeah, basically it's fear's the mind killer. Fear's the little death that brings total obliteration. So like the idea that we build these obstacles in front of ourselves. We do it. We let it happen. So there's a bit more to that quote. I will face my fear, blah, 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 blah. And in the context of the book, it's actually really powerful. But what I want to share the most is I can't remember where I heard this quote from. But I think this is what you were talking about earlier when you were talking about what you were afraid of and what you were doing. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on. But I think about that all the time. Like, I figured, I'm a small town kid. I got paid for university education by joining the army, and I'm just some dumb army guy, and I'm just gonna keep going on my life that way, right? But I think, we talk about the first episode of this show when we started 5 years ago. Yeah. And I was like, man, we published it, and now it's like, okay.
We have a podcast now.
No one's listening to it, but it's there. It's out there for the world. And, I worry often, social media is it's a paralyzer because, at least from my point of view, I think, what happens if we ever get, so successful that people are going to start questioning our ideas and our thoughts and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, yeah, set boundaries, be yourself, have opinions. Like, you can't please everyone. Just, and why in the fucking world would I let someone else get in the way of my success, our success, your success? We give so much power to other people without even knowing it.
I was gonna say, it becomes this weird, self-fulfilling prophecy where that little voice in our mind that doesn't believe that we deserve this starts to create these scenarios almost subconsciously where it's like, you could let somebody take you, somebody else's opinion dictate what you're gonna do with your life. But are you gonna let them? And I feel
it's that fear. It's like just the fear of not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You're comfortable where you're at.
Yeah.
Where did you get the audacity to
yeah.
Not audacity has a negative connotation, but you had to, I'm certain you had to overcome that, and are still, obviously, you mentioned, but what was that in that fuck you moment? What do you think it was that triggered this chain reaction, so to speak?
I think it was because I was so sick of showing up online, and I knew deep down that it felt fake. It felt
produced.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like I was being true to myself, and I was hyper focusing. I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, but I was hyper focusing.
We think we do too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm diagnosed. It's official.
Yeah. You're diagnosed officially?
Oh, yeah.
Were we talking about this? Oh,
I don't know.
Shit.
I tend not to divulge too much personal information.
I feel no, I honestly, I was talking, a lot of my clients are coming in and there's like I feel like we were just like not diagnosed
I think
properly.
most
And
of our generation are fucking ADHD.
actually,
Yeah.
And when you look at like, you look back, like basically at when I was in school and I look at how, like our coping mechanisms were, crazy, like we just like go out and drink all night and do whatever and like get up the next day and go to school. And that was like, we coped because we had people who were like kind of going through the same things. And like all of this like rush of like information that comes into us daily, I think like with social media and like family life and, you're constantly like watching TV and like we're not built to like have all of this stuff coming at us.
We should not be getting this much information. No.
And now, like in our adult life, like our coping mechanisms that we once used back
no
then, longer serve a purpose for us now.
Totally. They do. They're just counterproductive. I can't get fucking drunk every night.
And go out with my friends. Damn.
Yeah, like it's just, our coping mechanisms have changed. And I just find myself like, I get to that point where it's like, go, 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 go. And then you just like, or you have so much on your plate that you have to do and you can't.
Yeah.
Like you're just like,
there are not enough hours. There are not enough. Yes. Oh,
you gotta read this book.
Dopamine Nation.
Yeah. This is what you're talking about. We're just chasing that fucking dopamine high.
Okay.
But also do yourself a favor and go get checked. Because if you've got ADHD, I was terrified because I was like, I don't want to put a label on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, I'm neurodivergent. I'm special. But it's like legit. It's a legitimate fucking problem when you don't process shit the same way as other people.
Can you get resources easily once you are diagnosed? Is that the benefit?
I think for me, I'm going to come back into full frame.
Yeah, sorry.
I think for me, it's access to resources, but because I'm sure, like, how many times are you flipping through social media and you see a post about ADHD or autism or something, and you're like, that's a little close to home.
Seems familiar.
And so you want to talk about validation? Try to validate yourself, and that's a hard fucking thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because now I gotta, instead of sitting down feeling guilty about, Cassie and I went out Friday afternoon, did a bunch of shopping or whatever, and I was like, I'm fucking spent.
Yeah.
I'm just drained. And I was like, we didn't do anything. But like, I don't know.
You're like, what happened?
Your brain works differently. It processes information differently. You're always questioning yourself. You're always critiquing yourself. And so I think for me, getting the diagnosis, it's not a like top-notch diagnosis. The army basically just went, yeah, you got it. I would like to go in depth because there's a bunch of different ways. It's a spectrum. It is a bunch of different ways it presents itself. So to learn the interventions and to cope with it is different as well. But I think most importantly, it's just to recognize, your individuality in that sense. So now you can start to shape your life to better suit who you are. You could shape your interactions. You could better understand. Like, I mean, I know personally, I critique every interaction, especially at work, especially if there's like a hint of negativity to it.
Okay.
I'm like, what did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? What could I have done better? Am I going to be in trouble? I'm 36 years old.
Am I going to be in trouble?
Why the fuck?
Yes.
No one gets me in trouble anymore. Like, I don't get in trouble. I'm an adult. And sometimes things, sorry.
I see this at my work. One of my coworkers, she'll get called in. They want her help for something, but we talk over a radio, and she'll be like, "Am I in trouble?" And she's like 45, and she's still like, "Am I in trouble?" And I was like, I understand this feeling though, because if somebody said that to me, they're like, "Jenna, come into the office after." I'd be like, "Oh my God, I did something horrible.
What did I do?"
I never did. I know I didn't do anything horrible, right? Anyways, it's that same thing. Yeah.
Like dread.
Getting that.
Your dread.
I mean, yeah. Can we talk? My OC, when I was a subby at the regiment, he texted me the Friday or the Thursday of the Easter long weekend, and we were deploying to Wainwright. that next Tuesday,
Oh.
the whole fucking regiment. And he goes, we have to talk on whatever. And I was like, you can't just drop this in my lap and walk away. I ended up calling him. I was like, I can't go through this. I was like, I can't
enjoy my whole weekend.
No, with this, so I think if you are thinking that you have ADHD, go find someone.
It will help.
And then it's empowering because now you're like, okay, you don't want to put yourself in a box with a label.
Or like put a label, but like having a label is also like
could help.
It doesn't have to, like, labels are good when it's not your entire identity, right?
Yeah.
So figure that out, and then you can understand yourself a bit better. And I like the thing I've learned a lot, especially this last year, is, I mean, every single aspect about our culture, our civilization, our societal expectations, it is
Western
all
world.
Anywhere in the world. It is all 100% made up.
It's all pretend.
It's all
just
fabricated.
Playing house on a very huge
it's
level.
just a game. And it's like, if I can understand myself a bit better and put that into context with the neurotypicals, losers, then maybe I can just enjoy myself a bit better. I can just, it's all good. Like I said, it's a totally transparent thing. But I've been trying to convince, and I know one of our listeners, John K, is going to have a fucking field day with this. I'm trying to convince my therapist to get me referred to get checked for autism.
Okay.
There's a small part of me that thinks like I have.
There's an overlap with a lot of those,
and that's probably what it could be.
Yeah.
Like,
which is confusing because some people are like, "Am I autistic?" And then, say you were to get a diagnosis, often people, I don't say often, but like, say a large group of people, they're like, "Oh, I'm ADHD," and then
they call it ADHD.
ADHD.
Yeah.
AUD. I think it's just like a fun nickname for it.
Yes.
But, I mean,
I don't think that's the technical term.
I got so many friends with children with autism, and I told them, I was like, I kind of want to get checked out. I think I got low test. I think I think I'm on the far left. But so many times, Cassie she'll ask the kids a question, and I'm not aware that she's talking to them, and I'll answer the question.
Okay.
Or I will complete like subtext.
She's like,
subtext is so fucking hard for me in conversations sometimes. People will be having a conversation and I'm either 100% aware of what's going on or 100% I have zero fucking idea what they're talking about.
Okay.
And so they'll ask me a question and I'll be like,
don't know.
I have 7 different answers for you. And I need to know why we're having this conversation in order to answer you properly. But anyway, that's a bit off topic.
But I feel like, Sarah, you were getting at, because you feel like you have ADHD something. There was I
think it's like it's all this like go and then crash. Like just like how you were saying how how you felt like tired and you just went out shopping. Like this last weekend I got back, so I was in Paris and then literally grinded all week, and I knew that I had so much to do and so much stuff. I'm also like, I got hired, so I quit the sexual health nursing job, but I'm going back just to teach sex ed because they don't have anyone to do it. So I'm going back this week to do that with the kids.
Do you have to provide your own bananas for that?
So my best childhood friend, I ordered stuff when I worked there. So she has like my special box with all the
goodies she's hanging
all the goodies in it. Yeah.
Bananas don't last long in that box though, do they?
No. It was so embarrassing. Actually. Like, side note, funny story. So I ordered, obviously, penises and vaginas to come in to show the kids. And so the package came and it was sitting on my desk.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Sitting on my desk at work. And everyone's like, let's see what you got. And so all my coworkers like around me videoing me opening up this box.
Massive fucking.
They sent me 2 4-liter jugs of massage oil and everyone's
You're like, wait, no. This is
did
not the
order
purpose.
this. Yes.
Yeah, no, thank
I
you.
did not order this. Because they were like, this is from a medical company, right? I'm like, yes, it's from a medical company. And no, I did not order the massage oil. So I have massage oil at the clinic now.
It's
I think I have an RMT. I have an RMT who works at the clinic with me. So
yeah, thank God there's
you have
cover for action here.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, so anyways, just this like go, like constantly. And then this crash the last weekend, I was in bed at 7:00 every night.
Yeah.
Like sleeping.
It is. Yeah. Plus, I mean, you got like your regular life. You got Andre, you got your kids, you got fucking bills, whatever. Like,
oh my God.
The laundry, the cleaning, the making meals, the regular everyday normal stuff too.
Yeah, it's just such a nightmare.
Yeah.
It is. It really is a nightmare. But
real clever of you to order shit to work though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back the next week, they're like, hey, we're missing a jug of this massage oil. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, man.
Like, so embarrassing. I feel like nursing in general, like, I don't know. Yeah, you either have to have like a really dark humor, or I don't think you'll make it if you don't. There's been I think back to when I worked like bedside nursing and the amount of like times I cried at work, or like you can't leave stuff at the door when you go home, like.
It's hard to separate. Yeah.
It's hard to separate. I'll never forget when I first started, and there was one of my patients. It was one of the first codes I worked on after graduating, and so I'm like 23 years old at this point.
So
and literally giving compressions to this poor man who had esophageal. Essentially had like vessels that burst in his trach, and as I am like doing compressions on him, there's just like blood like coming, like pouring out of his mouth on like all over my scrubs. I didn't bring an extra set of scrubs, and I had to work until 11:30 that night. And I remember coming through the door. We lived in the Q's over on the north side, and walking in, and like I threw up twice on the way home. He didn't make it. Threw up twice on the way home, and just like walked in the door, and Andre, like his face when he saw me, because I was like covered.
Yeah.
Like, he saw the trauma on you.
And, like, was just like crying, and I immediately just like went in the bathroom, threw out my scrubs, and I just cried. And those are the things that I don't miss.
Yeah,
like, I don't miss. I feel like nurses are extremely underpaid, undervalued for what they do, and it's really, really nice now, like working somewhere where people are happy to see you. Like, people want to come in and see you, and it just makes my life like a lot happier, rather than like coming home every night like wondering how my patient's doing or if I'm going to see them again.
Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's too much. And it takes, I feel like it takes a special kind of person. Like, palliative care is one area that I would not work in. And
can you just explain that for people who don't know what palliative care is?
So palliative care is essentially end of life care, where you're working with clients who are kind of on their last legs. And at the small hospital that I was at here, there's two palliative beds. You didn't have an option.
So those palliative beds, that's not a lot.
Crazy?
Oh my God.
No, crazy,
2?
right? Just two.
Yeah.
And you didn't have an option, like, not to be their nurse. Like, you had to. And it's so tremendously like heartbreaking to watch the families. Like, most of the time it's the patient's ready to go. and then having those like difficult conversations. Like I remember when I was just casual at the hospital as of recently, since I've been back from the UK, and
Mm-hmm.
um, having to explain to families that like just because someone is, their pacemaker is like, making their heart beat doesn't mean that their quality of life is like improving.
Exists. Yeah.
And that like trying to have those like difficult conversations where then families are literally breaking down in front of you.
I received that, like my dad passed away very like suddenly, but like drawn out, because he had a heart attack, was brought to the hospital, resuscitated, and then kept on life support. And
Oh
then
my
we
gosh.
had to make the decision that his, like you're describing, his quality of life did no longer exist. He would have been on a machine for the rest of his life, never talk again, never, like, there was no rehabilitating him, because his brain had been had lost so much blood that like he was no longer a person, right? So
Yeah.
having received that conversation, knowing how difficult receiving that conversation is, watching and feeling empathic towards the doctor who had to have that conversation with me, I was like, she doesn't want to come in here and tell me this. Like, this is ruining her whole day, having to
Yeah.
come in here and like realize, like, I'm imagining her in the room, like having done the tests and being like, he has no more brain function and all these things, and then
And then having to have that
share that with
conversation,
the family.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, like it's
Heartbreaking.
in the whole room, like everybody in that room is feeling the same way in that moment. Everybody's like, this fucking sucks.
You say it takes
Yeah.
a special person. I remember listening to a podcast way back, the Tim Ferriss show. I'm sure
Yes.
you've all heard of it. He had a guy on, BJ Miller. His name was MD, and he was a palliative care doctor, and he, well, it says here, the man who studied 1,000 deaths to learn how to live.
Wow. Okay.
And he felt like it was a privilege to help these people transition from.
It's honestly from their, you're the, like, it's
You're
so,
like the guide a little bit, no?
So literally, before patients' families would come, like we would prepare them. So I would go in the room, and not every nurse did this.
Okay.
But
Only
I would
the
go in
really
the
good
room.
ones.
I would go in the room and I would wash them. I would brush their hair. I would brush their teeth. I would clean underneath their nails. I would clip their nails. Even though
it's the smallest
like
amount of dignity,
just,
I
like,
love that.
Exactly. Just trying to give them that little extra like TLC and love. And sometimes like families weren't even there. So you were with that patient holding their hand. Like the amount of hands that I've held while people have just gone in front of my eyes is like astronomical. And you literally, you come home and like are expected to just like be
normal
again.
Like
normal
if your
again.
kids are home, they're just like, mommy, and you're like,
not now.
Reality.
Yeah, fuck it's
yeah, back
I need
to reality.
To grieve. You have to grieve in a way, like,
wow. And on top of that, like, okay, so I know again, like dark humor stuff, but
yes.
So with that specifically, I can think of, having a difficult conversations with like a family and trying to explain to them that, their family member is no longer going to be like functioning. So this one specific incident, so they called it. We went in, put the magnet on, and stopped his heart.
Okay.
But he still had, he was still set up to, it's called telemetry. So basically it's like a portable monitor for someone's heart. So we can monitor them at the nursing station to see if there's any, anything going on. So he had one on, and we went back up to the nursing station, and we were sitting there, and the doc that I was working with said, can you go take the telemetry off like it shouldn't be on the patient anymore? And I was like, yeah. Went down, brought it back up. It's sitting on the desk. Batteries are not in it, and the monitor is still on. The monitor was still going. And all of us just looked at each other because weird stuff like this would happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I looked at the doc and I'm like, what's going on up there? He looked at the monitor. He's like, did you take it off? I'm like, it's right in front of you. Batteries are not in it. And he was like, what? I was like, no.
What? How's this happening?
Like, yeah. He's like, I was like, I'm not going down there because it was the palliative room. I'm like, I'm not going down to check. And we would literally play like rock, paper, scissors to see like who was gonna go check.
Yeah.
Oh. It's honestly like the spookiest thing. And with that patient specifically, the door shut on me. We were pushing him into the morgue and it's a very small space. It's like a fridge. And I got trapped in there with him and the door locks like when you walk in. So I got trapped in there with them and no one can hear you.
Moment.
No one can hear you. Don't say that.
I'm like freezing in there, and thank God, like one of my colleagues who was working realized probably what happened and came and let me out. But I feel like it was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Like
no shit, brutal.
10 minutes turns into 10 days. Oh my God.
I can resonate with the dark sense of humor thing when you're confronting your own morality on a regular basis. It's just it's not like you're numb to it. It desensitizes you to it, and it just becomes this fact of life.
Desensitized.
I've not had to confront that reality very often. For us, it's mostly, unfortunately, been suicides, at least through my career, or accidental deaths. You know, did this help you appreciate things differently? Did it help change your outlook, or do you value the people you love in your life more because of this, or is it kind of just like
I think for a while maybe I was because my mom's health is not really great, and but just kind of being angry. I was angry, I think, or like angry in the sense like I come home and like Andre Andre was like, I have a man cold, or something would happen.
Bitch.
And
you're like, are you kidding me? Oh my God, you have no idea the day I had.
Yeah, so people are literally like dying, and you're complaining about the sniffle that you've had for a week. So it made me like angry as I got older. I've been a nurse since 2013, so as I got older, it just I think it's like humbled me now. I'm very grateful for those experiences. It's molded my personality, and it's made me like have a better appreciation for to look at your clients, your patients as a family, like as a whole, versus just looking at the patients as a number, because they're not just a number. It's another human. Even in my practice now, even in medical aesthetics, like I get to know my patients on a personal level. Like I know their kids, I know what's going on in their lives, I know whether they're going through a divorce or they just got married. Like I think it's so important.
You become a therapist a little bit, I bet.
I feel like as a nurse, you're like a jack of all trades.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Mental and personal health. Yeah. That's wild.
But yeah, no, it's been a wild ride.
No shit.
Cool.
That's crazy.
And you're now, I think, just at the beginning of this new chapter in your career, in your life.
I love quotes. I got one for this too.
You have a nice quote for us, Colin? And I feel like you were saying, everything you've done so far has like built you and made you who you are today. And so I'm curious, like, do you see this going in a specific direction?
Right now, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants.
Okay. I love that too.
Flying by the seat of my pants. I actually had this conversation the other day where I'm like, what am I doing long term? Like long term, like what are my goals? And
Yes.
and it's hard to try to think of like what could be better than like what I have right now. Like it's
Yes.
still mind boggling to me, like
You're
how
still grasping the current. Yeah.
yeah, like how can things get better than this? Or you know, what can I do? I eventually would love to bring on have some employees, but I'm afraid that people are not going to care about what I do as much as I do.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, that's tough.
Okay, I can relate to this a lot. I feel like I've struggled with this a lot myself. And yeah, how do you trust? It's a trust thing, right? Like you're like, how do I trust that this person will do the job to a standard at least that you would be happy
exactly
to provide as well? Yeah.
Because Sarah, I'm not sure you're aware, but Jenna has a flower business too.
Okay, that's so cool.
It's not, I don't want to like down talk it or whatever, but yeah,
like talking with your clients and creating that atmosphere, that environment, the vibe. And then especially from like aesthetics, it's very, very visual. You get a sense of what you're dealing with by seeing the results, and I feel like flowers is the same way. You have expectations of
what it will look
what
like,
what it should look and feel like at the end, right? So I think you're coming from a very informed point of view when it comes to that resonance.
It's hard to let people into your space and hope that they don't fuck it up.
Yes.
Because I've had people come in, into my space since I opened it, like, even just renting, and they want me to teach them everything that I know that I've had to pay and put time and effort and money, and it's like
thousands. I wrote it down. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands potentially of dollars. Yeah. Oh my God.
And they just want you to just hand your everything that you've worked for to them on like a plate.
And they're like, well, you just know this stuff, so you could just give it away. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, absolutely not. And then, to think, I've just had the worst luck, and I think a very poor judgment of character the last 2 years. I've been screwed over like quite a few times. Because I always like look at the best in people, and like I never walk into a relationship thinking that things are going to go bad until they do. Obviously,
you're like, I
want this to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's normal for people. Yeah, maybe it's a matter of like, do you think you have a better red flag meter now? Like those are learning opportunities, unfortunately. Yeah.
So I think now I try not to, and this is going to sound crazy, I try not to become close or like very friendly with the people who are in my space. Okay. So I'm there for work.
Professional.
I'm not there to like hold your hand or run your business for you or do any of those things. I'm a nice person. We can sit and we can chat on the couch and like hang out during like between clients. But like when I leave, like I'm not having like extra, because friendship and business, like honestly, like I've found in my experience, it just doesn't mix. Sometimes it doesn't.
Healthy boundaries.
Yes. Like setting boundaries with people. Like some people just don't respect those boundaries. And a lot of the times I've literally had to like, I try to hire people on, I had 2 people and one left because she moved, military, obviously. And then the other,
that must be tricky.
Yeah. The other person that I had to fire because she was so rude to the other people in the building, and I'm just like,
this is not my vibe.
I don't want to do this. I just want to come to work, do my job, like have fun, have a laugh. I don't want to deal with like that bullshit. I don't want to deal with like other people's like feelings or meanness or not being able to get along or
can we be grown-ups?
I don't want to go to work to parent people.
As busy and as hectic and as crazy as it is to be a business owner, that's a huge fucking perk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Winston.
Sorry, you found your quote, yes?
Yeah, Winston Churchill.
I love him.
During World War II.
Me too.
He said, "It's I love the idea where you're at right now, like basically scaling, right? Scaling up or down. I think there's two ways. You get more employees, so you get more clients, and you generate that way. I think another cool way too is you just like deep dive and you become so good that you're charging a higher price point, and you're just attracting a different clientele.
I was gonna throw in option number 3, and like you could become an educator. You have much knowledge.
A master class.
That could become.
That would be really cool.
A lane.
That would be really cool.
Because you could like.
There's so many opportunities.
The space
really is.
You're limited to your imagination. But basically, what Winston Churchill said is, this isn't the end. This isn't even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning, which I think is really cool. Because you're there.
That is where you're at, I think. The end of the beginning, yeah.
Now you get to survey the landscape and decide which direction you're going to go, what you want to do. Chill out for a bit. Just, put in some roots and really get comfortable with it. I don't know if any of these words make any kind of sense, but I think it's. Yes. I think you're in a really, really cool spot right now. Like, the world is your oyster. I don't know who said that, but
no, I just love the freedom that I have now in comparison to feeling strapped.
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling. And it's cool to get to do like things like this and speak with you guys and, have these like really great opportunities that come up, and just take advantage of them and, continue to say yes, but with things I actually want to do.
On your terms. Yeah.
Say yes, but then also say no too.
Yeah.
Both can be true. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yes.
So you can find me on socials. And it's not Cry Aesthetics. It's Cyr Aesthetics. CYR.
Your last name, yes.
Yeah. On Facebook. It's the same across the board.
Okay.
Cyr dot aesthetics.
Okay.
Come over, join me.
TikTok.
TikTok's personal.
Personal. Okay.
TikTok,
don't
so
look
the
for
last
her
one I saw of yours, Sarah, on TikTok was about pubes, which was fucking hilarious. So yeah, it's very, very personal.
Can I add you on TikTok?
Yeah. So,
okay.
My TikTok, it is a personal one. Has nothing to do with my business. I think it's Sari Cyr.
Okay.
SARRY. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, no.
What
very fun.
And so just so people are clear, you do injections?
What
is health aesthetics?
What is that what injection specifically?
We should have really hit that first, but here we are.
We should here. So medical aesthetics, it's controlled act, only specific healthcare providers can do. So I do neurotoxin injectables, which would be like Botox is basically like the general word that everyone knows. But I also do dermal fillers, and I do fat dissolving injections, which is like really cool.
Get me some of that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I need those. I think the
big needle, please.
Yeah. There's kind of new technology coming. I guess it's not new. It's been around for about 10 years, but getting a little bit more traction in the industry now.
New to the market.
Yeah, not new to the market. Just like people are wanting more. I think medical aesthetics is moving away from like overfilled spaces where people are unrecognizable. It's like people want mom. Yeah, like people just want like to know like natural looking enhancements.
Yeah.
When you walk in a room, you want people to like notice something different about you, but not be able to point out what's different. And that's where my focus is. Like, I don't believe in changing the way someone looks. I personally don't roll with it. If there's a specific injection technique that a patient comes in and asks me for, and I know that it's gonna, like, the filler's gonna migrate. They're gonna look like Homer Simpson. It's not my cup of tea. I will tell them no. Like,
this is part of your authenticity.
Yeah, your face is my business card. So
you're, like, accenting or accentuating their natural
beauty. So and the way, like, if you really think about, like, you know, what we use fillers for, like, fillers are there to replace volume loss. So depending on, like, what type, I mean, you know, you get your clients coming in, like, lips are a very hot thing that I do all the time. I inject lips every week. Yep. They're in. Yep. But when you're thinking about, like, the face as a whole, as we age, we have bone reabsorption. So and then our fat pads start to slide essentially off of our face. So when we are putting in filler, what I'm essentially doing is I am mimicking your bone structure. So I'm going on your bone to add basically that bone structure back, so your tissue has something to hang on to again.
That sounds really fucking painful.
That sounds very precise.
Put that out there.
So it's funny because lips, honestly, I tell my clients this all the time. If you can do lips, you can do anything. Lips are the most painful procedure. I have filler in my lips. I have it in my chin. I have it in my cheeks. I have it in my temples. You wouldn't be able to tell, but I've tried everything only because I don't believe in putting something in someone or doing a treatment if I don't know how it feels. And I will be 100% honest, lips suck. They are the worst.
It's like getting a tattoo from someone who doesn't have tattoos.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, a lot of my clients come in, they're like, oh, well, I have like 50 tattoos. Like, I'm sure this would be fine. And then, like, they realize.
You're like, depends on the location?
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's nothing like a tattoo. But there's new products coming out. They're called biostimulators, essentially. And it's an injectable that you are, you know, basically washing the first layer of fat with in your face. And it causes your own body to create collagen.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Super science. So cool. Yeah. So the nerd in you is like into this. Yeah.
So I did the training, and I don't believe in putting something on your menu list until you get like comfortable and get a few clients in that are like essentially willing to let you practice on them. Because even with this product, like, this product is great that it's out. However, it's not dissolvable. So fillers are dissolvable. We can get rid of them. This product's not, so it's kind of scary in the sense. That's why I haven't put it in my. Because you can run into some severe problems. Like, if we occlude one of your arteries and essentially stop the blood supply to your face, it can cut off that oxygen to the tissue, and then you get necrotic tissue, and then, you know, the tissue death. It can result in someone going to plastics.
Okay.
So it's I think when people, that's what going back to when we first started talking, I'm not a hairdresser. I don't do your nails. Like, this is like a risk to one of the procedures that I'm doing. So when you come in for a treatment, treat it like it's a medical appointment. You have to treat it that way. I also do like talks for like Botox treatments. It's not just for cosmetic purposes. Like, I help people with hyperhidrosis, so excessive like sweating. I do a lot of treatments for TMJ pain or migraines.
I've seen a lot of that on TikTok specifically, where people are like, I had this done and my migraines are gone. I was like, whoa, I never even considered that. But yeah, like,
it's actually like, it's so cool to be able to like also continue to help people. Cause I feel, especially with the boomer generation, like, even my parents, like, I remember my dad saying to me, like,
we harp on them all the time.
Don't you still want to be like a real nurse? I'm like, Dad, I am still a real nurse. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still putting.
You're like a ninja nurse now. That's the difference. You're like in a specific lane, and you're doing very tactful, precise things. Like, I wouldn't liken it to surgery because I'm sure surgeons would like up in arms. Oh, it's not surgery, but like you're leaning towards that, you know.
It's still, and and I will say it, like surgeons and doctors are like a little bit ticked off that nurses are able to do this.
Doctors just hate that nurses are so much better than them anyway.
Nurses, honestly, nurses are getting, I don't want to say finally, but like the nurses' abilities, I think, are growing to the extent that they deserve. Like it's getting.
Would you say it's the abilities, or sorry, is it their abilities, or is it just the recognition of what they already had and did, kind of thing? You know what I mean?
I wonder if it's
both.
Know.
Yeah, probably. To be
honest. think
I'm not a nurse, so I don't want to speak.
I think honestly it's changing, and I truly think it's been due a lot to the pandemic. Like,
okay,
prior to this, I think most patients or people didn't really know what nurses did, or like they have no idea.
They just do it all.
They just think that like, oh, this woman that comes in and like, changes my dad in the morning, takes him to the bathroom. Like, you don't know, like in the background that like we're reading blood work, we are advocating for you, we are calling the doctors when we notice shit is going south, we are taking your vital signs and updating physicians, and I know like there's standing orders that we're doing and we're following. But the amount of times that a patient would come in through Emerge and I would be able to rhyme off the blood work that they needed right away. We're reading your cardiac monitors. Like patients do not know what nurses actually do. And I think that after the pandemic, a lot of them realize, especially with nurses leaving the profession, like how vital and important nurses are to the healthcare system in general.
1,000,000,000%. Yeah.
I think of it like
undervalued.
Just to put it in army terms, because that's how my dumb brain works. But we have senior NCOs, so like the soldiers that have been serving for anywhere from like 10 to 15 years, 6 and more, kind of thing. But they're the people that everyone looks to solve problems, because they've been doing it for so long that they just intuitively understand what the problem is and what the best solution is for that problem. And they're also the voice of reason. So when some dumb fucking officer shows up and is like, we're going to do this, I've got ideas, look at the size of my whiteboard. Then they can be like, appreciate the enthusiasm, you're dumb, we should do it this way, kind of thing. And I think it's just it's probably worse off in the nursing world, though, because at least in the army we're told to rely on these individuals. I'm not certain that medical school says, hey, you should really listen to the people who've been working here for decades before you start running your mouth because you got a fucking MD.
Honestly, I think
etiquette class.
what are they? The Gen Z?
The ones right
below.
Us. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Below, for sure. They
are wild. They are like, I honestly, like, it just blows my mind, like, working with them when I came back and I was in the hospital, because they're not afraid. It was like a breath of fresh air walking and working with these like nurses. Like, I have one doc actually came.
Like, take no shit seems to be their motto a little bit. Yeah.
This one doctor came in and the nurse called the doctor by his first name and he was like, I am. Please call me doctor, whatever, in front of the patient. And she was like, I'm not going to say his name, but for
Dick.
I'll say Kenny. She was like,
Kenny, perfect.
Kenny, is that not your first name? And he was like, yes. And she's like, well, that is what I will call you. And I'm like,
I've seen this.
Balls.
Where's your audacity?
Yeah.
I've seen so many TikToks or social media reels showing like different employees from different generations and how they behave in the workplace.
Yes. Oh my God, there's this. Yes. Okay.
And the Gen Z one is just that. They're like, oh, they don't care. They don't care about anything. I was like,
so
no,
casual.
like, I'm sorry, I'm late, whatever. And the millennials like, I'm so sorry, I'm late. Please don't fire me. Please don't fire me.
Don't fire me.
No, I fucking love that. That's good energy. Cause fuck it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Fuck it. Like my mouth
Nothing
was
to
on
lose.
the floor. Like my mouth was on the floor. I was like, go. Like I have your back. Like I will have your back.
Yeah, like hit it.
Like I will have your back. Because it happens all the time. Like I find some physicians, literally they will be humbled at some point during their career, because it's just they can't know everything, and then you work with some really great doctors actually who are like, I had one doctor say to me, like, without nurses, like, you guys are my eyes and my ears. And if you weren't here doing all of this, like, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So, but it's politics.
That is probably like few and far between, right? Like you probably one for every 5, maybe one for every 10.
And the sad reality too is it shows that they're not there for the right reasons. I think, I believe as an officer in the Army that I don't work for the people above me. They give me the orders and I do that, but I do my job for the people that are below me. I serve them. And I feel like if you're in the healthcare industry, you should be there for the fucking patients. Cassie works long-term care, and I feel like they get zero, like, residents at long-term care home. They don't fucking get any kind of fucking anything because they're not, like, they're not patients in a hospital. They're not in immediate danger. But people think just because they're, I don't know, whatever.
People do think just because they're in a nursing home that their, like, life is for some reason of less value, or that they don't, like, and it's wild to me. It is absolutely, and it's atrocious, specifically in the private sector. Like, we're really getting into this, like, political craziness with, like, private healthcare. And honestly, like, I've worked at private care homes, and the difference between a private and then a publicly funded long-term care home is wild. They get away with doing so little.
I don't think anything in the medical industry, like, I go by Miramichi in Pembroke or Marion Hill. They have a big fucking banner says, like, whatever 2000 whatever best business accreditation and stuff like that. I'm like, that should be the last thing you're advertising.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that on my long-term care
you're good at running your business.
Best business?
Yeah, tell me how your fucking residents feel. Tell me how the families of your residents feel. And then I'll be more interested.
And because I'm a part of those, I'm still a part of the Petawawa, like, military spouse groups and stuff, and the yard sale groups and whatever. I love to get on them just because, like, I love reading everything that people post. And there's a lot of where I'm like, what is happening right now with nursing homes, and, like, people posting, like, letters that they've received from nursing homes in the area for being, like, kicked out, and, like, just so, like, kicked out with, like, family members still in the nursing home. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, healthcare is just, like, so wild. I'm really happy that I'm on, like, the other side of it.
Yeah.
You're in a different space.
I'm in a different space because it's the politics. I love being a nurse. I love bedside nursing. It was the politics of it all that honestly,
it drove you out.
Yeah. And I also think that people think that getting into this type of business, or like medical aesthetics or aesthetic medicine, is just going to be like this walk in the park. Anyone can kind of do it. It's not. And I am so grateful and thankful for my years of, like, experience, because I don't know if I would feel confident in my abilities to do what I do now on my own if I didn't do the work that I did previously. Because I've had people pass out. I've had people, I have had a client have a seizure in front of me at the clinic. And if you are not prepared and able to, like, care for your patient in front of you if something goes wrong, or if you don't know how to take a proper medical history and you're not going over their medications, or their specific diagnoses that don't mix with filler. So like you can't be injecting people if they have like, X, Y, and Z. And there's a lot of rogue people out there who will just take your money and go forward and do it. But I am not one of those people. And if I didn't have the experience, I think I probably wouldn't be a great injector, or I don't know, as safe or ethical person in my business.
Sure. That's awesome. Oh, I'm really happy that you have that to fall back on, because it's like fucking CrossFit. If you can go out and get a fucking certification in a week, doesn't mean you know how to do what you just learned, right? So I'm really happy that you're such a powerful ambassador for business owners, entrepreneurs, but also just doing things the right way, because there's a right way to do things. And I think, like you just said, there
certainly is a wrong way to do things. And I feel like you're not there.
I hope that
you're on the right path.
I hope the industry auto corrects that kind of stuff, because then these medical directors, is that what you call them?
Yeah.
They start realizing or see what's happening and prevent this stuff, because they're essentially
they're going to be
only way you can get the resources, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, you have to be very cautious about who you bring on as your medical director, because your medical director could be just as shady.
Oh, that's a good point.
And not be doing things. And it's kind of like the wild, wild west. Like out here, like nursing is regulated, but the industry is not regulated. So a lot of the times when we're injecting things, we're using these products off label.
Okay.
So you run the risk, right? That you're using this product that's off label, and not listed as that use. So if you're not thinking about it smartly, like I have articles because I'm a nerd and I read on stuff and I keep it. So
you're
like if something
I want to be educated.
If something happened, like God forbid, I go over consents really well, make sure that they're like well informed before I'm putting any needles in anybody's face. But then also if gosh, I hope it never happens, but if I ever got taken to court for whatever reason, that I have my 5 million articles to back up why I used the medication the way I did off label. But the
I
industry
think that
in general
savvy
is scary.
business people sort of thing is to like, you have to arm yourself with this kind of information, so that, because there are, as much as there are probably shady providers, there may also be shady clients out there, and you, I think, speaking authentically, are going to attract an authentic client. But in the off chance, because like everybody, I mean, I've done weddings, I've run into only one bridezilla, I'll say, over the years, so I feel lucky. But that being said, like, they exist.
Yeah,
they do exist. They do.
You're going to cross paths with people all the time, everywhere. So you might run the risk of running into them.
Yeah, no, and honestly, when you can kind of tell who those patients are when they come and they sit in your chair. They're the ones that talk poorly about their previous injector.
Yeah.
They're the ones that come
upset,
in
victim,
complaining. Yeah. And most of the time when someone comes in, like, I'm not here in business to talk about another business or another injector or talk. And I tell that to the clients. And then I have the option. This is the best part about what I do. I have the option to decide not to treat you. So if you come in and if you are saying X, Y, and Z, and like, I don't think that you're going to be a good fit, like, I will direct you to go elsewhere.
Yeah. You were about to say, I will direct you to fuck off. Oh man, that's so good.
But she's a savvy business person.
Yeah.
She'd never say that.
I will be the Luther, the anger translator. Sarah, this has been an absolute blast. I want to thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Yes,
it's been so fun, guys. Thanks for having me.
Is there
thank you.
Last thoughts? Anything you want the listeners to know about you, about your business, about the industry, anything?
I just think as like last remarks is believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to take risks. We all are just like little tiny ants on a rock floating in fucking space.
Yeah,
so
for real.
It's not that serious.
It's not that
life
bad.
is not that serious. Like just take the risk and enjoy life, because we only have one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and everybody else, thank you for listening. And this has been wonderful. Yeah, toodles.